All right, good morning, folks. This is going to be a rare early morning hangout. I'm at my local train station getting ready to go out of town for the Christmas holidays, going to go see some family. But in the meantime, as I'm waiting on my train, it should be here in just over an hour. So right now, I decided to do this little early morning hangout just to kill some time. So early this morning, I just wanted to discuss some evidence of Jesus. There's a lot of debates that go around, but I think one that doesn't get talked about as much as it could be talked about here in the great debate community is the evidence of Jesus and his resurrection. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to screen share, a number of different lines of evidence for Jesus' resurrection. Really interesting stuff non-believers should really look into and just take a serious look and investigate these matters. So I'm showing my screen right now, and here we go. What we have here is 14 evidences for the resurrection of Jesus Christ. And these have references in it, and I'll just skip the description on the top. Here's 14 lines of evidence. 1, Jesus' existence. That Jesus was a historical individual is granted by virtually all historians and supported by ancient Christian, Jewish, and pagan sources. Yet modern skeptics often feel that the best strategy for denying the evidence of his resurrection is to deny that he even existed. 2, Jesus' death. The most popular counter to the resurrection in non-Christian and heretical beliefs is to deny that Jesus died on the cross, e.g., this is the position of Islam. However, historians regard the death of Jesus by crucifixion as ordered by Pontius Pilate as to be historically certain as any other fact of antiquity. Crucified Messiah. Crucifixion was a horrible, shameful way to die, so much so that it would never have occurred to anyone in the first century to invent a story about a crucified man as a divine savior and king of the world. Something extreme and dramatic must have happened to lead people to accept such an idea, something like his rising from the dead. Number 4, Joseph's tomb. All 4 Gospels agree that Jesus' body had been buried in the rock tomb owned by Joseph of Arimathea, a member of the Jewish High Council, the Sanhedrin. This is an unlikely Christian fiction because Christians blame the Sanhedrin for their role in having Jesus executed. Number 5, women witnesses. The 4 Gospels all agree that the first persons to find the tomb empty were Jewish women, including Mary Magdalene. It is very unlikely that anyone would, and this is one of my favorite evidences right here, the testimonies of women. But anyway, as I was saying, it is very unlikely that anyone will make up such a story since women's testimony was devalued compared to men's, and since Mary Magdalene was known as a formerly demon-possessed woman. If the empty tomb story were fiction, one would expect that Joseph of Arimathea, already identified as the tomb's owner and respective male leader, would be credited with the discovery. I think that is definitely one of the most powerful evidences right there. Ancient theories, number 6. The earliest non-Christian explanations for the origin of the resurrection belief mentioned in John and Matthew were that the body had been taken from the tomb, either moved to another burial place or stolen to fake the resurrection. Conceded 3 key facts. Jesus died, his body was buried in Joseph's tomb, and the tomb was later found to be empty. Number 7, the tomb was guarded. Critics routinely dismiss Matthew's story about the guards being bribed to say that they fell asleep, giving the disciples opportunity to steal the body. That's referenced in Matthew 28:11-15. But Matthew would have no reason to make up the story about the guards being bribed except to counter the story of the guards saying that they fell asleep. Either way, the guards were there, the body had been in the tomb had been guarded, and the body was no longer there. Number 8, Paul and Luke's independent accounts. Paul's list of resurrection witnesses in 1 Corinthians 15:5-7 coincides with Luke's account at several points, but wording and what is included in Luke's account is clearly independent of Paul. For example, Paul calls Peter by his Aramaic nickname Cephas, not Simon or Peter. He refers to the 12, Luke to the 11. Luke does not mention the appearances to James or the 500. Thus, Paul and Luke give us independent accounts of the appearances they both mention. Okay, I know I said we have 14 lines of evidences right here. And if you want to save this, excuse me, if you want to save this hangout, you can go to the link above, and then, you can find that. Or maybe after this hangout is over, I can post that link in the description for you so you can see it. But there is so much evidence for Jesus, it's not even funny. I mean, there's really no reason for anybody to reasonably deny the evidence that Jesus existed. The only other reason anybody would deny the evidence of Jesus is really just for personal reasons, not for intellectual reasons. As a devout, God-fearing Christian, it is my view that the evidence of Jesus, or rather the evidence of Christianity, falls on whether or not Jesus rose from the dead. If Jesus did indeed not raise from the dead, then Christianity as we know it is false, and Christianity as we know it literally has no ground to stand on. Without his death and resurrection, there is no Christianity. I think so far the lines of evidences are so powerful that he not only existed, but that he died and resurrected. I don't really know how anybody can go about refuting this evidence. You've had all these sorts of skeptic objections, like, for example, they'll try to object to the resurrection on the grounds of denying eyewitness testimony. They'll say some crap like the eyewitnesses, probably were deluded, or they were hallucinating, or some garbage like that. But the whole problem with that idea is that there were just way too many eyewitnesses for that even to be remotely credible. I mean, you get to a certain number threshold to where the hallucination hypothesis becomes less and less likely. It would be one thing if we were talking about, I don't know, maybe 1 or 2 people, maybe even 3 or 4, maybe a small pool of people could be said to, have hallucinated the event. But when you talk about hundreds and hundreds of people, yeah, it's probably ridiculously unlikely that many people hallucinated that event. So that's one objection, out of the many absurd objections out there. But the evidence of Jesus' resurrection is ridiculously powerful. I don't really know how anybody can logically, try to argue against it. But nonetheless, when people love darkness rather than light, they'll try to make up anything and try to appeal to, just appeal to their sinful nature. They don't want Christianity to be the truth. They don't want, the Christian God to be real. Because, the bottom line is, if the Christian God is real, then they will be accountable. And pretty much everything that they base their life around will be subject immediately to God. And they love darkness rather than light, and they don't want to give their sin up. I mean, even as a Christian myself, I struggle with my own sin, and I'm in a daily walk with the Lord every single day to get closer and closer to perfection. There's certain things that I found very, very hard to give up as a Christian, and I'm still struggling with to this day. But at the end of the day, I love Jesus first, so he's the most important thing. I think there's a number of different ways you can talk about the existence of God, but I think by far the most powerful way to talk about the existence of God is to discuss the evidence of Jesus Christ's life and his resurrection. I mean, if you look at the evidence of his resurrection, you have had legal people who have looked at the evidence and then found it compelling time and time again. There's even been books, volumes of books written about this by people who are persons who are legal personnel, got backgrounds in law, and looking at evidence, and historians and evaluating historical criteria and how they would look at those sorts of things. But even many skeptics will at least agree that Jesus existed. They would not deny his existence. The only thing they would deny is that he rose from the dead, or maybe he did all sorts of miracles and all this other stuff. But one thing many honest skeptics don't deny is that he existed. You only get the really, really extreme skeptics who would even deny that he lived at all. But yeah, that's it right there, man. I mean, yeah, the evidence of Jesus. I mean, it's there you have it, people. I mean, if you really want to know him, if you really want to know about this man, then I think the first thing you can do is just find out about who he is, and about what he's about, and just check out these lines of evidence. And not only just check out the evidence, but check out the counter arguments to these evidences. I encourage anyone to even check out the arguments against his existence. Check out the skeptics. Evaluate both sides and decide for yourself what you want to believe. At the end of the day, it's up to you. At the end of the day, it's up to whatever decision you make on the issue once you evaluate the lines of evidence. So yeah, it's really, really good to look at the lines of evidence for Jesus' existence, but it's even better to look at the counter arguments to his existence. I mean, the counter arguments to his existence, and and test the counter arguments, just to see if they stand up to scrutiny. And the thing is, when you have something that's the truth, it'll stand up to scrutiny every single time. And I've looked into these evidences for many years, and I looked at so many counter arguments and so many different things, and they just don't stack up. I mean, the evidence is just so powerful that you would literally have to be the evidence of Jesus. So yeah, this was just a little spur of the moment, early morning hangout I wanted to do. So I don't really know if anybody is up right now even watching this. It looks like I got, I don't know, 3 viewers right now. I guess until more people start watching it, or maybe if some other people want to come in and talk about this, I guess what I'll do for now is I'll just look up some other lines of evidences, maybe pull up a video or something, and we can really dig deep into this. So yeah, with that said, let me just turn my camera off here and load up some videos and some other material while I wait for people to possibly come in. I have a lot of material saved on my computer. Mr. Sanjay says, good stuff, bro. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. So let me see. I got so much stuff on my computer about Jesus. Let's take a look at it. I mean, you can find a number of different sources on the evidence of Jesus, but I want to cite William Lane Craig talking about the evidence of Jesus, because it's not just the evidence alone, but how he lays out the evidence is what I really like. So William Lane Craig, evidence for the resurrection. Here's a short video. I don't want to show a ton of videos here or a ton of long videos, but here's a really good short video right here. So let me screen share what I got here. Okay, here we go. I got this on mute. I got to turn it up.
Dr. Craig is research professor of philosophy at Talbot School of Theology in California. He's the author of some 30 books and some 200 academic papers published in peer-reviewed journals. Dr. Craig is research professor of philosophy at Talbot School of Theology in California. He's the author of some 30 books and some 200 academic papers published in peer-reviewed journals. He's got doctorates in philosophy and theology on the historicity of the resurrection of Christ.
When it comes to engaging in a conversation in the public square, or in letters to the editor, or in conversation with co-workers, then I think it's critical that Christians be able to present objective evidence in support of our beliefs. Otherwise, our claims hold no more credibility than the assertions of anyone else who claims to have a private religious experience. Fortunately, Christianity is peculiar in that it is a religion which is rooted in historical events. It makes claims which can therefore be investigated historically. Suppose then that this evening we agree to approach the documents of the New Testament not as inspired holy books, but rather simply as a collection of documents written in the Greek language, handed down out of the first century, telling this remarkable story about this man, Jesus of Nazareth, without any assumption whatsoever as to their reliability. The same way we would approach other ancient documents for history. You might be surprised to learn that when ancient historians approach the New Testament documents with this attitude, that the majority of scholars today accept the central facts undergirding the inference to the resurrection of Jesus. These facts are 4 in number. Fact number 1, after his crucifixion, Jesus was buried in a tomb by a member of the Jewish Sanhedrin named Joseph of Arimathea. This fact is highly significant because the disciples could never have proclaimed the resurrection of Jesus in Jerusalem in the face of a tomb containing his corpse. Fact number 2, on the Sunday morning following his crucifixion, Jesus' tomb was found empty by a group of his women followers. Fact number 3, on multiple occasions and under a variety of circumstances, different individuals and groups of people experienced appearances of Jesus alive after his death. This is a fact which is universally acknowledged today by New Testament scholars. Finally, fact number 4, the original disciples believed that Jesus was risen from the dead despite their having every predisposition to the contrary. Their leader was dead. And Jewish messianic beliefs had no idea of a Messiah who, instead of triumphing over the enemies of Israel, would be shamefully executed by them as a common criminal. Despite every predisposition to the contrary, the original disciples believed in and were willing to go to their deaths for their belief in the fact of Jesus' resurrection. Luke Johnson, who is a prominent New Testament critic from Emory University, uses some sort of powerful, transformative experiences is required to generate the sort of movement earliest Christianity was. You need a launching pad to launch this missile.
Yeah, there it is. And that doesn't even scratch the surface, y'all. That's just a small little tidbit, but it gets much deeper than that. But I mean, the evidence is, there's really not much more I can say. I mean, if I said any more, I'd be just beating a dead horse at this point. So, can you address these conscious community foolishness about the Council of Nicaea creating Jesus? Anybody who's taken any basic time to really study this matter knows that the Council of Nicaea didn't create Jesus. I mean, that is just the most foolish thing you can just possibly say. There is way too many documents talking about Jesus that predate the Council of Nicaea, so there could be no possibility that Jesus Christ was created. I mean, for crying out loud, if you talk about people like Josephus, for example, Josephus in no way, shape, or form was no fan of Jesus at all. But he was a historian, and as a historian, he was probably the most credible historian of his time. And even he records records about Jesus. So when they sit up here and say crap like the Council of Nicaea created Jesus, that's just a flat lie. I mean, just a basic investigation of history, you could find out that that's immediately false. I don't really take anybody in the conscious community seriously. The conscious community is not really something that I've taken the time to really address like that, and that's probably something I should work on doing more. But I think G-Man probably have addressed them more than I have. I know he addresses the Black Hebrew Israelites. I know he addresses them as far as the conscious community. I think he addresses them too, but I'll have to get with him on that to see what he deals with them in the conscious community. But yeah, that's just a basic, just flat out lie. There is no possible way that that the Council of Nicaea created Jesus when documents clearly predating the Council of Nicaea talk about Jesus. And I mean, these weren't just documents that were simply made up. I said G consciousness addresses them. Oh yeah, G consciousness is very, very good in addressing the conscious community. Hebrew Israelites, him, G consciousness, G man, faithful to God. Those brothers are just amazing. They have a whole lot of knowledge and information on those people that I simply don't have at this point. So I'll probably at some point take some time out to thoroughly study those people in depth and what they believe and how to address them. Brother Josh, I'm not sure if I know about Brother Josh. I'll have to look him up and find out what he's about. But anyone who addresses them and really knows how to deal with their arguments is, yeah, brothers I'll definitely be looking at more. But yeah, crap like that, the conscious community, they tend, from what I do know about them, though, they tend to repeat the same type of crap that a lot of non-believing skeptics like to repeat. I mean, literally that, oh, that dude, Absolute Bible Truth. I think you talking about that brother. I remember him. I haven't spoken to that guy in a minute. But yeah, he is ridiculously good. He is very, very good. I like that guy. I totally forgot about him. But yeah, it's been a minute since I talked to Josh. Yeah, that dude, the information he has, just wow. I just don't. I'm just. It just floors me, the knowledge he has, and he had compacted that stuff into some sort of a volume. I think it was a video or DVD or something like that. And I've been meaning to buy it for a long time, and it's just never got around to doing it. So, if anybody wants to know about this brother Josh that our brother Mr. Sanjay 03 mentioned, look up Absolute Bible Truth, either through YouTube or through Google. You'll find out about him. He says his documentary about the gay agenda in the Kemetic conscious community. Okay. Yeah, he has a number of different just nuggets of gold. So yeah, you can check out Josh from Absolute Bible Truth. You can check out Faithful to God. You can check out G-Man. And you can check out G Consciousness. Brothers like those, you can check them. And you can check out Brother Veko as well. Veko also deals with those people. So all of them, all those brothers are very, very good in addressing those points. But when they talk about the Council of Nicaea creating Jesus, that is literally like one of the dumbest things they can say. I mean, nobody who has studied the issue seriously, no serious contemporary scholar would ever say that the Council of Nicaea created Jesus. Even Bart Ehrman, who is a hardcore critical skeptic of Jesus' resurrection, as a secular historian, even Bart Ehrman would not say any garbage like that. Oh, I'm at the train station. I gotta pause real quick. Sorry about that. You know, being at the train station, every now and again, the announcement intercom comes up. I think it comes up at 25 after the hour and 15 till the hour. But anyway, as I was saying, the conscious community repeats the same type of garbage that the atheists would say, like, you know, Jesus being made up at the Council of Nicaea and all this other stuff. And no serious contemporary scholars looked into these issues would verify what these people are saying. No serious contemporary scholarship backs that crap up at all. And like I mentioned before, the intercom came up. I talked about Bart Ehrman, yeah, a secular historian, and even he wouldn't say that garbage. He does not deny at all that Jesus existed. The only thing he has issues with is the resurrection of Jesus, but he absolutely does not question that he existed. And he would absolutely reject any notion that the Council of Nicaea made him up. So whenever you hear garbage like that, just it's to be laughed at. It's so pathetic. So yeah, that's pretty much all you need to know in that regard, or anybody who wants to make those sorts of stupid claims like that. You can just you can find all sorts of crap to just discredit that instantly. Hold on just a sec, people. I'm getting a phone call. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I'm gonna see if I can try to get some other brothers in here. I know it's early, but it's kind of boring just being in here by myself. So I'm gonna see if I can get some other folks up in here. Just give me just a sec, guys. All right, okay. I'm trying to get some other people in here. I'm going to wait about 5 more minutes. So if you don't hear me talking at all, it's because I'm just waiting for some other people to join in. But if nobody comes in after about 5 minutes or so, then I'll just end the hangout. I mean, it's almost time for my train to come anyway, but I'll try for a few more minutes to get some other brothers in here while I wait. So just bear with me, guys. Yeah, this hangout is very, very early. It doesn't seem like anybody's joining. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get a hold of anyone, so I'm just gonna go ahead and end the hangout. So to anybody who actually did watch and view this, I really appreciate it. So that's it. Take care. God bless and peace and Merry Christmas.